Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us for this month's Lunch and Learn. We're going to be going over store balancing. So let's give everybody just one more minute to pop on, and then Jen, you are good to start it off.
Okay, I think it gave everybody another minute there. So today we're going to be going over balancing. I'm going to be showing this in both the SMS V3, and I'm also going to be showing balancing in V4 and the ThriVersA, so that way you can see how you do it in both. It is a similar process. Behind the scenes, of course, it always will work the same, but it will be obviously a different layout. So with that being said, let me go ahead. I'm going to pull up my V3, and I'm also going to pull up my ThriVersA. So I'm going to start with V3. So this is SMS. So to go in and do your balancing, it's going to be using the SMS, not SMS Pro. If you're familiar with using SMS, there's two kind of different flavors. There's SMS and SMS Pro. So you're going to be using the SMS module, and we're going to be going up here on the top, and we're going to be going across to manage. So this is where, over here on the left-hand side, when you go between the different modules, it's going to change. So under Manage, we're going to have right here Balancing. So to start, you see that there's two different ways to balancing. There's the Quick Entry screen and the Extended module. For the most part, everybody does their balancing. Everybody with our customer base does their balancing in the back. And if you're doing the balancing in the back, that's going to be your Extended module. There is the ability to do pickups, loans at the register, and that would be the Quick Entry screen. Since the majority of our customer base uses the back office, I'm going to go over the back office portion, but that's certainly something I could go over. If that's something that you would like to see in another webinar, just let us know in the front end. I'm going to go ahead and click on the Extended module, and it's going to bring up this screen. The first thing I usually suggest doing, so that way you're looking just at the cashiers that are working currently, is you can click on your operators with drawers. This is going to show any customers that are actively out with drawers, ringing up customers for today. So right here I have my cashier, and I have 2, and my cashier 7. So I have cashier and Jennifer that's been ringing up transactions, and it's going to show me what lane that they're on over here. From here, you can do a few different things. So this is just on the cashiers. So from here, you can do a few things. You can just obviously view them, like we're viewing them right now. You can get a little bit, you can do a pickup, which means that you're going to take money out of the till and bring it to the back. So it's it's like they have a lot of cash you need to pull in the middle of the day. They maybe just, it's the end of the day, so you're picking up everything. You're pulling it out of the till. You're counting it. You want to add it to your safe. That's what the pickup will do. Loan is the opposite, so this is if the cashier needs money to start. Very common thing is you have to start off cashiers with some change. So you'll usually will pick an amount, $100, $200, depending on how busy you are, and you'll loan them out that money. That way you're keeping track of the money leaving the safe to be put into the tills. So it's taking it out of the safe and putting it into the tills. And it can be denominations, like you want to have maybe some ones, fives, quarters, dimes, nickels that you're putting into the till. If you still have pennies, maybe you're still putting pennies in there, but that way it's just keeping track of how much money you're starting off the cashiers. You don't have to do this. Some stores like to have that in there, so that way they have that accounting of what was loaned out to the cashiers, but some just know that they always start off with $100 based in their drawer, and they know to subtract that when they're doing the pickups. So either way works. Declare is the last option, so that means the cashier's done for the day. You're not doing pickups throughout the day. You are done, cashier's done. You count at the till for at the end of the night, and you're just declaring that that cashier is done. They're not getting any more money, so if they're short, they're over, whatever the case may be, they're done. So just so you can see an example of a pickup, so we're just going to go and do a pickup for our cashier. So it's going to show over here what they have in drawer. How much you're picking up would be what you're typing in that you're picking up, and then the total pickup will populate as I'm doing this. So this cashier isn't done for the day. I just want to pull some cash out of her drawer, so I'm just going to go ahead and hit $10. So that is going to show, now you see my total pickup is $10, and it's showing the new in-drawer amount is $325. So that will give you what I've picked up and what they're saying, the system is saying they should have. If you're picking up the exact amount, which is very common with checks and credit cards, if you can just hit the double arrows and it will just pull over that amount in quantity right over from the left-hand side, so you don't have to sit here and type it over again. You can just add that to the total, and it will pull it over to the total pickup in their new indoor zero. Once you're done, you just go ahead and hit complete. And now if I view that cashier, you can click on Operators Withdraw to refresh, or you can click on View. It's showing that new indoor amount of $325 because I took all the other tenders and money out of that drawer. So maybe this cashier needs a loan. I just took all of her cash, and now she had a customer come through with maybe, it's usually cash, $100, and they needed to make change and they need more money. So this would be where you can go and do the loan option. So you can go ahead and click on loan, and you can go ahead and say how much money you need to loan. So they just took customer, they have to give $100 in change. I'm just going to give them $100 in change. If that's not the way that you want to do it, you want to actually know the denominations or have it add up the denominations for you. There is a calculator option. So this way, instead of you having to go through and count, okay, that was 520, 320s, 210s, whatever the change may be, you can have the system do it for you. So you can just be like, I gave her just 220s and 110 and 10, that's too many, 5 and 25 ones. Okay, so you can see I can just type in the amount and it's going to show the total down here. I can accept that entry, and now it's doing the total loan of $100 like I was doing anyways, but now you let the system do the calculation for you and you can complete that. The other one, like I said, is to declare. So if this cashier was done for the day, first off, I'm sorry, I meant to say this. If you click view, you can see that there's that loan amount now. So that loan amount is showing the $100, so that is added to their indraw amount. So that is, if I click on that Operators Withdrawals, it's going to refresh that view. So if this cashier is done for the day, you can go ahead and declare them. You first want to pick up everything. So if I come in here and I pick up, I've already picked up the check and the credit card, so it's just cash. So if I go and I pick up this cash, maybe I'm picking it up and they only have $103. So we're just going to say they're 25 cents short. That 25 cents is nowhere to be found in the drawer. So all I can find is 103, so I'm going to type that in there and hit complete. Now I'm going to show a balance of 25 cents, but I can't find that 25 cents, so we're just going to go ahead and declare the cashier that's correct. So at the end of the day, they're not ringing up anymore. They go ahead and do declare, type 1 to definitely declare. Yep, they're definitely going to be 25 cents. They're off 25 cents. I'm going to go ahead and complete that. And now when I look at this up here, I can see that they're short over because I declared for 25 cents. I just said they're off that amount. It's all $0. The cashier's done for the day. Now in ThriVersA, to do some cashier balancing, just going to go ahead and pull that up. So if I'm looking at this to do the same thing in ThriVersA. So this is my ThriVersA screen. So first, I'm under the Manage module. So if you've done some other of the webinars with me, you know that I've gone through and there's different modules for ThriVersA. So this is under the Manage module. So if we click on that lock logo right there, you can see the different ones. We have eSuite Care, Batch, Buy, Sell, Manage, System. So this is actually a good one to kind of point out how it's very similar to what we did in SMS. So I'm just going to pull this screen back up. When we were going into SMS, I said it's underneath that Manage tab, right? So this is underneath the Manage module. So same place. Kind of helps to find it if you're used to it within SMS. So over here on the left-hand side, so I'm looking for balancing, so I can go ahead and click on my balancing drop-down, and I'm going to go into my drawers and save. So this should look very similar to what I just went over. Very repetitive, right? So it's a loan, pick up, declare. We have the same options here for the drawer, for the cashier drawer. If you're just coming in here, you're just doing pickups, that's very easy. You can just come in here, you can just click on pickups. You can pick your date. So a lot of times the date will be today's date, or there is some occurrences where you may need to be picking up yesterday's date. So if you're going to be doing that in ThriVersA, you can actually just change the date right here, so I can go back to yesterday. So that way, if you haven't finished picking up all your drawers for yesterday, you can do that right here. I'll show you, when we switch back to SMS, I'll show you how you do that in SMS. But it's very easy to do right here in ThriVersA. And then you can pick your operator and you can pick your tender. Most pickups revolve around cash, so that way if you're just wanting to look at cash, that is something very easy that you can look at. You can just come down here, you can click at Show Search Tools, you can type in the word cash if you don't know, and you can go ahead and look at just that tender. If you're doing a little bit more with this and you don't want to go just directly into the pickup, you can use what's called content. So if I go into content, same thing up here. I can do operator, tender, and I can pick my day. I'm just going to stick with today's date because I know I have a couple cashiers for today. And down here, you can have it do by operator and by tender. So I'm going to show you by operator, and then I can show you by tender. So I'm just going to go ahead and execute, and this is going to show my operators for today. This should look pretty similar to what we were just looking at. Let me just extend this out a little bit so you can see everything. So then from here, you can do the same thing like you can do in SMS. So you can go here. So I'm going to go ahead and work on Cashier 7. And down here, I have the buttons to do loan, pickups, and declares. So I can easily come in here and I can do a pickup, click on pickup, and the buttons are right there. I can go ahead and bring them all over manually, or you can type in a new amount. So if I'm not picking up the full $29, you can go ahead and type in, I'm picking up $20. If you're wanting to do the calculator option, like I just showed you, I always accidentally do that because it's a double click. It's just a habit to double click in the fields. So when you double click in the field, you will pull it up so that way you can bring it up by denominations. If you would like, you do not have to do it by denominations. You could just accidentally pull it up and you could just type in the manual amount down here as well. But if you just don't want to do the math, or you want the system to do the math for you, you can sit there and count, this is how many ones I have, this is how many $2 I have, 5s, 10s, 20s, 50s that I have, how many rolls of each coin and how many individuals of each coin. So that way it'll add it up for you, so that way it just takes away any human error. So for now, I'm just going to go ahead and I'll just type in, I'll just do submit. And my so my pickup is 15, and my new drawer is 1410. I can also just bring them over with these little arrows, just like I did with SMS. There's also an option for pickup all, which will go ahead and pull everything over. So you can see that updated, and now it's 2910. It pulled over everything. So instead of having to tap the arrows for each individual tender, you can just do pick up all. It'll bring whatever it's saying in drawer, it'll bring it over to pick up. Now, the only gotcha with that I always like to point out is that cash tends to be the one that's going to be off. So you're probably going to want to manually do that. But maybe the cash is exactly on, and you don't have to, so it's a nice, easy way to be able to do that. So you can go ahead and click up here to click save. It's going to give you a bunch of messages saying that it did all the pickups for you, and everything's good. Down here is a little circle. This is your refresh. So you could see it didn't look like it did the pickup, but when I refresh my page down here, it certainly did do the pickup. Same thing with the loan. We just went over how to do the loan in SMS. It's right here as a button, and you can do right from the content. You can go ahead and loan out any of the different tenders that they have available that they've done with movement. And then also with the declare. So there is some different options that you could do. Like I said, you can do with movement, without movement, if you saw that up there. So if you want to see every tender, even if they've had no movement on it, you just go ahead and unclick with movement, execute, and it's going to show every tender, whether they took it or not. Every cashier, every tender, whether there's movement on it for today or not. If you have a cashier accidentally take a check and hit the wrong tender or something, this would be useful so that we can still do the pickup under the right tender. Maybe cashier switch drawers and you still want to track it under the right drawers. You could still do that. So that would be what that's an option for. I would say if you're going to be using that with no movement and you're doing something like that, I would definitely pick the operator that you're doing it under, so that way you don't have every operator in your system showing every tender. That's going to be quite lengthy. So you just be like, you know what, it was operator 7 that did that they rang underneath somebody else, they rang under somebody else's drawer. I want to do the pickup under this correctly. So you can go ahead and with movement. I check with movement. So I can do that with movement, but since I already did the pickups, it's going to show. I should have done that before. I'm sorry. But that way you can go ahead and click on the pickups, and you'll see all the different tenders that I can then pick up. Same with loans, same with the declare. So that way it's just not limited to what you have actually used for the day. So that's the cashier section. There is an additional button in here, so kind of similar to what we were looking at with operators with drawers. You can do undeclared, so you can just look at the operators that are undeclared by day. So you can go back and actually view any operators that were not declared by day. If you have some questions, like you're seeing that the balancing isn't quite complete, you can easily go back and check the day, see if maybe there was a cashier that wasn't picked up, a cashier that wasn't declared, and you can go back. I have a cashier that ran yesterday. I didn't do any pickups. I didn't do a declare. And then you can go ahead and you can click on content right from here. So it's 225, click on content, and you can then go through and do the pickup, do the declare for that day, and fix it. So it's a nice, easy way to go ahead and check if there's anything going on and fix it. The other option that is here is the history. So this way, if you want to look at the historical, without just looking for the undeclared, you just want to look at the historical for maybe the day before. You can go ahead and just look at what was done yesterday, any pickups, shorts, and overs, anything like that were done for the day that you picked. And again, I'm just picking one day. You can go ahead and look at this for day, week, month, year, and get a breakdown of what was going on. And the same thing when you're looking at the undeclared. You don't have to look at just one day. So the other part of balancing is safe balancing. So drawers is taking it out of the cashier drawer and putting it in the safe. Your back office, if your accounting office has a safe that's holding all of that money and loaning that money and picking up that money. So there's balancing that you can do with the safe as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and stick with ThriVersA right now, and then I'll go up into looking at this in SMS just because I'm already in here in ThriVersA. So it's right here, right next to it. So we have drawer over here and then safe, and it's all pretty much the same. So up here we can go into content, and we can go and do all the different operations under content, but just so I can go through them all really quick, what they are and what they do. Receive is receiving money into the safe. So if you went to the bank, got a change order, and bring it in, that would be what that is doing. So that is taking money, not from the drawers that automatically is going to be received into the safe, but it's taking money maybe like from the bank, maybe from elsewhere that you have that you can pull money into. You would be receiving that money into the safe. Depositing is taking money out of the safe and depositing it elsewhere. So the idea with deposit is you're going to go do it in the bank deposit, but it's removing the money from the safe, so that way the system is saying that money has been taken out and it is going somewhere else. So it's being deposited, hopefully in the bank. And then declare is the same idea. Once you're done and you're sure that the day is completely done, you've picked up all of your cash drawers, you've made sure that all this over shorts are accounted for, you've done your receives, you've done all your deposits, it's done, you can declare the safe for that amount for the day. Inventory is if you're keeping track of the system by denominations. So the ones, the fives, the tens, the 20s, this would show your inventory. History is just like the history with the drawer. So it'll show you the history of what's been done, any receives, any deposits, anything like that. So just so you can go in, we're going to just go into content just because I tend to like to use content. You certainly don't have to. You can go into each individual one because it gives me all the options. So right here, your balancing period is open. This is a configurable that we would discuss prior to you going live, that you could have your balancing period be you have to declare the safe daily, have to declare it weekly. Open means it's an open safe. It's like a rolling safe that will keep bringing money forward each day. You can look at it by tender up here. So if you want to just look at one specific tender, you could do that. Or you can just look at all of them with movement or without movement. So I'm just going to go ahead and keep this. So I see all the tenders. I only see the tenders with movement just to keep it a little bit more streamlined so I'm not getting a list. And here's all of my where my safe stands right now. So I can see what was in the safe previous to today, how much I loaned out, how much I picked up from the drawers, anything that was received in, anything that I deposited out, how much money I'm expected, and how much is undeclared. And I'm using the term money. It should be any tender. So this is just, I tend to focus on cash, but obviously there is other things that you would deposit, checks and things like that, but I just tend to always focus on cash. So sorry about that. But so, and then from here, now I can do all of those different pickups and receipts and deposits that we could do from the other screen. So I need to add a receipt. I got a bank change order come in, so I'm going to go ahead and receive. Same idea with this is that if you double click, you can double click on this and view it by denominations. If you are wanting to keep track of your inventory, you do have to use this. So this is a tool that some people, like I said, use for just a calculator. There is the ability to now do it so you can track all the inventory. So you can actually track the dollars, the tens, the 20s, the 50s, the hundreds, and the nickels, dimes, quarters, and pennies. I keep wanting to not say pennies. So this would be the way that you'd have to start tracking that. If you want to track it, you would have to track it here. You would have to track it at every pickup that comes up. So the cashier hands in their till, you would have to use the calculator so that way you're tracking each denomination. If you don't want to do it and you just want to use it as a tool for a calculator, that's certainly fine. That's what the majority of people will do if they're using this tool. Just so that way it can do the math for you. But if you are wanting to track inventory by type, you do have to do this at every step. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm just going to say that we're receiving in $1,000 in change. And then I go ahead and hit enter. I come up and I check mark. And it's going to, like I said, it's just going to come up with some messages. It's quite quick. And then if I go back to my results up here, I can go ahead and do a quick refresh. And now that receive is showing up. Over here is deposit. So if I need to deposit out, I can go ahead and do a deposit down here. So that means I'm going to take money out of the safe, and it's the same idea. I can do a new deposit, type in the dollar amount. I could then pull over the entire safe in cash if I wanted to, or you can go ahead and double click and do it by denomination. Oops, sorry about that. So I'm not sure why that's pulling the pickup list, but you can go ahead and type in the amount that you would like to deposit up here. We'll just say I'm going to deposit 400, enter, and you can go ahead and check mark. You can also hit the deposit all. That will pull everything over. Coming back here, we go ahead and do a quick refresh. And you can see that the lines are updating. So if you are done for the day, everything is picked up, you can then go ahead and declare the safe. If that is something that you want to make sure that basically the accounting people are going through and counting all the money, making sure all of this matches. If they need to make any changes, anything like that, then that would be where they could do that to see if they can do like a full accounting. That's why I said it's your choice for that open period, the weekly period, the daily period, where you would like to do the different checks, we'll say, on the balance of the safe. But like once they're done, you can come in here, you do declare, and then this would be where they could go through and they could put in exactly. So they're expecting $645 based on the information of what's been picked up, what's been received, what's been deposited out. And if it doesn't match that, this would be where you can start tracking that. I haven't done movement on the other ones. If you notice, I haven't done any pickups or deposits or receipts on the other ones. That's why they're not showing up. So if I wanted them to show up, that's where if we went back to the wizard, we would want to uncheck that with movement because I haven't moved on it. And the one thing I always like to bring up is this is really something that should be done at the end of the day when you're quite sure that everything has been done. Cashiers, if you declare a cashier and then they're still ringing up items, they will automatically undeclare. Same thing with the safe. They'll automatically, if you accidentally declare the safe, it's not a big ordeal. It is something that happens, and then a cashier is still ringing register, and then you have to do a pickup, so it's going to bring money in. The one thing that will get confusing about that is if you've declared the safe, it will undeclare, it will add the money in properly. But what I usually tell people to do is don't look at this over short column until you've redeclared the safe. So this over short column is going to show very it's going to, because as you're adding money in, it's going to throw the over short off. So just basically ignore this column until you have done the pickups and put that into the safe. You're done again with the safe. You're like, okay, now I'm definitely done. And just redeclare it for the new amount. And then everything will correct itself. Same thing with cashiers. If you declare a cashier, they go up and they ring on the register. It's going to show the same thing. Where if we're going to go in here, I'm just going to pull up the content again. This over short, if they've been declared and then they keep ringing, this over short is going to be inaccurate. It's just going to show the numbers of what they're bringing in as well, because it's making them more over what you declared them at. So just ignore this field until you pick it up. The cashier's definitely done this time, and you redeclare, and it will resolve itself. So going back to SMS, let me just pull that up. So right here, we're going to go back into our extended module, and up here is where that safe balancing is. And it's really, I must be in, I'm sorry, let me log out. I'm logged in as a cashier, so I don't have the rights to go into safe balancing. So I go back into manage, into extended module, and I go into my safe. So this is very similar to what you were just looking at. Same idea where across the top we have that view, which is really the content, the deposit, the receive, the declare, so all the things that we just looked at. Down here you can see the movement. We can flip it back and forth between weekly and daily. So if you wanted to just look at what we did today as opposed to the entire week, you can see I did do more in the safe. I did do more in the safe or less in the safe during the week. So you can go ahead and look at that. Right here you do have the ability to look at that show pickups if you wanted to see the different pickups done throughout the day. And the deposit history. So we can look at the deposit history of what's been deposited out of the safe. If you're wanting to do a deposit, it's going to work the same way up here, really. It's the deposit. So you can come down here. You can go ahead and type in what you're depositing. So again, deposit is taking money out of the safe and depositing it in the bank. If you want to use the calculator option, like the pick up with the denominations, that's right here with the calculator. So that way you don't have to do the math. Or again, if you want to start tracking what you have by tender type, you can do that. I'm just going to go back here, and then you can go ahead and say, I'm going to deposit $200 and complete it. Just click on view, refreshes the view for you. And then receive, the same idea. So I'm receiving money into the safe. You just go ahead, click receive. This should look very similar to what we were looking at with ThriVersA. So you can go ahead and type in the amount, and you can hit the calculator. If you want to do it by denominations, click on tenders to switch back if you didn't mean to do that. And you can go ahead and say how much money that you've received into the safe. So you can go ahead and say, I got like another change order, and you can add that into your safe. The last thing is, of course, the declare. So the declare, similar to how we did it with the cashier, there is an additional step. So it's like you want to declare the safe, yes or no. And like I said, well, I didn't say this before, but the reason they put this in here is, like I said, it does say you're declaring that this is where that cashier or that safe is at this moment. Again, it's not permanent. If you forgot, somebody's still ringing register, anything like that, it will undeclare them, but it will cause a little bit of confusion with the short over. So it's trying to make sure that, yes, you think that you're truly done. And again, it's not a big deal. It will undeclare everything. You do what you normally do. And you would just want to just ignore that over short in the view. When you go back to it until you're done, and then you declare it again, and you're declaring that this is where you're at now, and everything will fix itself. But you can come in here, you can go ahead and count all the money, count all the tenders here. If you wanted to, kind of similar to show all tenders without movements, there is the option up here to show all tenders with the same idea as ThriVersA with no movement, so you can do that right there. And then you can go ahead and complete, and the safe everything was right, so the safe is done, and it's now balanced to zero because I put no dollar amount in. If you screwed up, like I said, you can always declare the safe again. Now, the only problem with that is you have to remember how much it is because you can't just pull them over. So what I usually say is write this down or take a screenshot, go in and do the declare, and then you can go ahead and manually enter them in because you didn't mean to do it for $0. So it's always fixable. That's what I always like to say about any sort of balancing is everything is very fixable. We can always fix any mistakes that are made, a declare is made, a huge a huge pickup or loan was done that didn't mean to be, you can just do a negative pickup or loan in the same amount. That's an easy way to go ahead and correct a balancing error. So just going back to our drawers, I'll just do this in SMS because this is a common, we'll say a common call that I've heard come in. So if you're coming in here and you have somebody do a pickup on this cashier, and instead of doing 25 cents, they accidentally do $25,000, okay? And they complete it. Mistakes happen. People are human. So this cashier is going to show pretty heftily over or under. So what you can do is a few things from here. And the easiest way to do that is if you go into the pickups and loans history, you can see right here that pickup was done for $25,000. Obviously, we just saw me do it, but if you're in a store and all of a sudden you come in and you're like, why are these cashiers showing wildly off? And you can go into that cashier and look at this and say, oh my gosh, there was a pickup done for $25,000, and you can click on the details and see they did a cash pickup for $25,000. Clearly that was incorrect. So the easiest way to get rid of this, because you could have other things that have happened, the cashier could have rang more, throwing all the amounts even more off on you. I would just say to undo this specific pickup and redo and like whatever they were trying to do. Instead of trying to do math, they were trying to pick up 25 cents and trying to be like, okay, well, that's $24,999.75. Just undo this and redo the pickup. So to undo this, you would just come into pickup. And you see how that, it's right there. I would just undo the pickup for 25,000. Of course, I have this right over where I need to be, 24. So 25,000, which is just going to reset me back to the 25 cents. So this is very simple. This is very easy because I'm in the lab. The cashier is not still ringing up, so it's not going to throw my amounts off. But this way, if you're undoing it exactly, you're doing a negative pickup for exactly what you did the positive pickup for, then you don't need to, then you just basically get back to base zero is how I usually think of it. So that way you're just undoing that bad pickup, completing it, and then you can go ahead and do your pickup that you meant to do as normal. So that way I did that pickup, now I look at my operator drawer, I'm back to 25 cents, and now I can go do that pickup correctly. This makes it easier than trying to do math and trying to figure out things back and forth. Now the other thing I meant to show while I'm in SMS, I'm going to go ahead and quit out of here. So like I showed you in ThriVersA, it's very easy to go back and forth between the days. Very common, you have people come in the morning and they're going to finish doing the pickups for the day before. So if that's happening, then you need to be able to change the date in SMS. I showed you how to do it in ThriVersA, but if you need to do that in SMS, you need to do it from the home screen. So it doesn't matter what tab you're under. You're going to come up here, and you're going to go under Log, and you're going to go down here to Global Store, or Global Date, sorry. So Global Date, and then you're going to just type in the date that you want to change the system to. So if you're looking to do it yesterday, you would just want to do 02/25/2026. It has to be in this format. If you look right above, it says global date, and then it says month, day, year, year. Whatever the format is that shows up there, have to do it exactly like that. If you decide to put slashes in, it's going to say invalidate. So it's going to show you right here, month, day, year, year. So just to do it correctly. So if I do 02/25/2026, it will go ahead, it'll say date changed okay. And what it's going to do now is tell you right here, this date is going to show you the date that you put in, and it's going to start flashing in red. Flashing in red is just letting you know that the date that SMS is running on right now on the server is different than the date that's in the system. So you would just want to go into your extended module. It's going to flash red down here, look at your cashiers, do the pickups or whatever you need to do, finish it, and then make sure that you change the global date back to what it was, or just restart SMS to change the global date back. That was what I wanted to go over. Christina, did we have any questions come in?
We haven't received any yet. I'll give everybody a second to put anything in if they have anything they've been waiting on. Okay. It seems like there's nothing coming in. So thank you guys for attending today's webinar. Our next one will be on March 26th, and that one we will be going over advertising elements within SMS and ThriVersA. So everybody have a good day, and we will see you next month.